Hey y'all, what's going on? It's me again, Dwayne Dixon, and I'm your host of Success of a Nation. And today's episode I'm super excited about because we're dealing with none other than, well, credit. It's one of the things that you just can't do without. Cash and carry has gone out, played out. You're going to need that credit if you're trying to make some moves. And that's ultimately what this show is about, putting you in a position to win, putting you in a position to make better moves for yourself and your family. So, my other question is, what do you think about the music? What do you think about the music? You know, with my music background and everything, I sort of like it. And I don't know, man, it helps me get into it as well. So enough of that. We'll just get into what we're here for. Y'all can let me know if the music is a good thing or a bad thing, and we'll just go from there. But yeah, so again, today's show is about improving your credit, not just improving it, but removing negative blemishes off of your report so that you can go on to make the investments or whatever your situation may be. You can go on to better yourself. So that's what we're going to cover today. Oddly enough, I want to also give you guys some props on this. I made a little video when I was in New Orleans a few days ago, and let you know that I was going to do a segment on improving your credit. And to my surprise, y'all started engaging with me and sending me DMs and asking me different questions. I was totally taken aback by that. I was surprised by it. I wasn't expecting it. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, well, damn, somebody's watching. So I really, really appreciate that. And for that reason, I'm going to speak. I'm still speaking to everybody, but I'm also speaking to you personally because you took the time out to ask some questions that, were first and foremost, that you were dealing with. So kudos to you on that, and I appreciate you. So I guess we'll just jump right on in. All of this information that I'm giving you, I don't claim to be a credit guru, or I don't have a course or anything like that. All this is about is me giving you what I've got. That's it. I'm just going to give you what I got. I'm going to continue to do that. And because this is sort of my lane, I know you're going to get some things out of it. And while I'm thinking about it, if you do get some things out of this today, and I'm sure you will, the price of admission is just alike. So, having gotten all of that out of the way, the reason I'm able to give you this information is because when I started in real estate investing, one of the key things for me was getting those houses off. So I'm buying and flipping houses, I'm rehabbing them, some we're building, whatever the case may be. When it came time to move that house, I wanted as many options as possible. So a lot of times I'd have people who were coming to me wanting to purchase my home, but they did not have the credit. So that's what sort of caused me to find this lane. So the first thing I want to cover is something they call technical data. And basically what that means is it's the data that's in your credit report that specifically points out your name, your address, your employer, your phone number. And the reason I think we should start off with this is because for the most part, this is an overlooked part of the credit report, but it shouldn't be. This is just as important, or maybe not as important as some of the others that we'll get into, but you can still be denied. Let's put it that way. If you have technical data on your credit report that does not match what you where you currently live, or if you've gotten married and your name has changed, whatever the case may be, if you've got technical data on your credit report that does not match, that is something that you need to get taken care of. That's the path of least resistance, y'all. We're just going to start slow and then build our way into it. So that is something that's very important. I've gotten denied, unfortunately, by that. I had a little circumstance, a little situation at Best Buy years ago. And I was, maybe 2 deals in real estate, and I was still working at UPS as an auditor. And basically, long story short, the girl behind the counter runs it, and then she comes back and was like, "You've been denied." So I'm like, nah, boo boo, you need to check that again, baby girl. It must be a little system glitch. You got a glitch in your system. You might want to check that. So she's like, "Nah, sir, you've been denied. I've looked at it, and we're not going to be able to help you today." Now, I was always fanatical about keeping my credit score in a decent area anyway. At the time, I might have been like, I don't know, 750, something like that, right? And I don't judge. Don't judge. I was just getting started. Don't judge. But I was at about 750. I'm just getting started in real estate. I'm 2 deals in. I'm up about 50K. Turns out I was using my real estate company. I was in such a rush to use my real estate company, period. Just to, separate myself from where I was trying to leave to where I was trying to go. So this was one of the first times that I used my company name. And Equifax, or whoever it was that they were using, still had UPS. So when they did that checks and balance, that we've talked about already, it didn't check. It didn't balance. And therefore, I was dejected and had to take my cell phone home and figure it out. And I later figured it out, and it was all good after that. But that's still, something to be mindful of. So, who wants to be, going through the humiliation of being denied and so on and so forth at somebody's credit counter? That's never any fun. So that's basically what happened to me, and I don't want it to happen to you. So get that technical data squared away first and foremost. If you have trade lines, but you have some blemishes on your credit, should you just try and rid yourself of the entire trade line? That depends on how bad your history is with that particular card or whatever, your car or whatever the case may be. Case in point, if you, let's say you have a Home Depot card, you've been rehabbing and using that Home Depot card for years. So you've got like a $250,000 credit line, but you hit some bumps along the way. Would you want to get rid of that entire credit line when you've got years established and you've just managed to, have a few lates or whatever your circumstances may be? Absolutely not. You want to try and hold on to that credit line for all the reasons that I just pointed out. It's established. What you would want to do is hone in on those parts of your credit that need to be corrected or removed, and keep your trade line in place. So that's very important. Now, if for whatever reason the entire thing is just messed up and it's never been right, then yeah, you might want to try and get that off of your report altogether, because it's probably doing you more harm than good. But in the other scenario I just gave, it would actually hinder you to remove that trade line. So just be mindful of that, and you'll be in good shape. Speaking of those bumps and those bruises, that is where something they call in the industry a goodwill letter. That's where a goodwill letter comes in. Send them a goodwill letter and let them know that you've got some inaccuracies and you're trying to point them out. You're trying to get them corrected. You're also in the midst of buying a home for your family, this, that, and the other. Those types of real life scenarios tend to go a long way as well. And you just keep pushing for those inaccuracies to be removed. If for whatever reason you're late, let me just speak to that for a moment. Late with a lender doesn't necessarily mean the same with your credit bureau. And what I mean by that is, if you're paying your mortgage and you've got your little coupon booklet or your car note, and it says it's due on the 15th, well, if you go past the 15th, the 17th, the 18th, whatever the case may be, according to your car note, you're late. And you're going to more than likely be assessed a payment penalty, or, a late payment penalty because of it. The credit bureaus don't see it that way. You've got 30 days before you're considered late. So that's something to keep in mind, but something you really want to be mindful of. I'm only giving you that not so that you get in the habit of, pushing the envelope on every credit card, because I've seen that happen as well. When people learn about the little tricks of the trade, then all of a sudden they're abusing it. And I don't want that for you, because, that's just a recipe for something to happen later on down the road, and you don't want that. And I don't want that for you. So keep in mind, 30 days late is not the same with the credit bureaus as it is with your lender. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If you have one of those situations, you get caught up at Christmas time, and you need to pay that car note or your mortgage sometime in January, just make sure that it doesn't go past that 30 days. That is first and foremost. And they are adamant, if it goes anywhere 31, 32, it doesn't matter. You will be assessed that little red box on your credit report that says you're not, doing as you should. And there's, just another blemish that you've got to try and overcome. So, keep that in mind. A security freeze, and how do I use that? A security freeze is not to prevent negative information from hitting your credit report. Please understand that. You can put a security freeze on your credit card or on your credit period, but what that does is it prevents fraud, and it also notifies you of anything that might be going on that you may not have been aware of. That is really what a freeze is all about. You miss a payment, Macy's will let you know about it, and a credit freeze won't have anything to do with stopping that. So, excuse me. So the next thing I want to delve into is removing judgments and tax liens and bankruptcies and things of that nature. This is an area that gives people a lot of grief. So I thought it would be best to try and cover this and go in as much depth as possible. So rock with me. Those types of things, number one, are handled through the courts. Judgments, tax liens, and etc. Even child support. things of that nature. That's handled through the courts. So the courts do not report to the credit bureaus. The reason why those tax liens and other things are showing up on your credit is because of what's called credit reporting agencies. Those are agencies like ChoicePoint, LexisNexis, and there are a few others out there that most of your credit reports take information from. That is the data that they source. They source it from companies like that. To remove those tax liens or bankruptcies, you first want to go to the actual credit reporting agency. That is where you focus your attentions on. If you get it removed there, then Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian will have nothing to reference because you've cleared it at the source. So how do you do that? You do it the same way. You write letters contacting that particular reporting agency, whoever it might be. Let them know once again that it's inaccurate. Let them know once again that this is inaccurate information. Then you also go back to the county court where this was initially filed, where you went to court and you had the judgment levied against you. Get a letter from them stating that they do not report to the credit agencies, because they don't. They don't report to Equifax or TransUnion. Again, that information is only on your credit report because of these third-party credit reporting agencies. Then go back to the reporting agencies and let them know, number one, that you want to opt out of their services. This is my private information. You are publicly listing private information, not to mention it's inaccurate. Where did you get this information from? You didn't get it from the credit bureau. As a matter of fact, I have a letter stating that you did not get it from the credit bureau because the courts don't report to the credit bureaus. So there's no way you could have gotten it from the credit bureau. I'm telling you now the information is inaccurate. Be adamant about it. And also, again, let them know you want to opt out. You can opt out of these companies. They are just regular companies like everybody else. They're not federally mandated or covered by federal law or anything else. Opt out of it. Again, Equifax and the rest will have no information because there's nothing there because you had it removed. So that is very important. A lot of people don't know about that. As a matter of fact, it took me a while to figure out. So I know this is some valuable information. And speaking of valuable information, I don't ask much. But since I am giving you information that hopefully you can get something from, hit the like and subscribe button. As I get further into this, I start to learn about Google algorithms and things of that nature. And those are the things that they look for: like, subscribes, and sharing. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. So next topic. When you're disputing these inaccuracies, and that's what they are, when you're disputing these inaccuracies, always keep it vague. Always keep it vague. Always use the word inaccuracy. I'm just disputing this inaccuracy, and just keep it like that. The reason I say that is because if you start to go into specifics, whether it's in writing or over the phone calls are recorded, and obviously writing, they'll have a record of that. So if you keep it specific, then they'll have something to essentially nail you on. And what I mean by that is If you say, for instance, you were 90 days late and you call them and tell them that it's inaccurate, they ask you, well, what is the situation? Well, you say, well, it's not 90, it's 60. Well, they won't remove it because it's 60 days and not 90. They'll just simply do an update. So you're still stuck with the negative information that you were ultimately trying to remove. So it's always important to keep it vague, keep it as vague as possible, and let them know that it's an inaccuracy and that's your job to figure out what it is. But nevertheless, you've got some wrong information on my credit report and I need it removed. And keep it like that. And that'll best protect you and also enhance your chances of getting it, removed, which is the ultimate objective anyway. So there you have it. The next thing I want to talk about is Statute of Limitations. And this is a tricky one because so many times, we say, well, we've got 7 years before it's taken off my credit report anyway, right? Well, that 7 years is the 7 years from the last date of activity. And the reason that's important is because if you're being called by a collection agency and they're trying to get you to start paying whatever debts you may owe, so on and so forth. And let me just preface this by saying, I'm not encouraging you not to pay your debt. It's always a good idea to pay your debt, and you want to be a responsible citizen and pay your debts. However, if the collection agency calls you and you are, let's say you're 6 years in, they're trying to get you to now pay this debt for whatever bill that you've, sort of let go, by the wayside. The key thing to know about that is if you start or acknowledge that you do owe that debt and that you will pay that debt, the clock starts the moment that happens. You were already 6 years in. You only had 1 year left. Some would argue to wait them out and, let the chips fall where they may. But if you, again, have that type of situation and you start that clock over again, then you're dealing with another 7 years. So just be mindful of that. That's very important. And the collection agencies will go way out of their way to try and get any sort of conversation from you, any sort of commitment from you. That's why it's always a good idea to just tell them from the door, don't contact me anymore. That way, there's no dispute as to whether or not, you agreed to pay, you thought you might pay, it sounded like you were going to pay. We don't even want to give them the room to do that. So there you have it. So the next thing I want to cover is, let's say you do decide to pay one of them off. And the reason for that being, you're not close to that 7 years and you're trying to buy a home. And, with all of these credit blemishes, it's going to drive your interest rate up. It could very well price you out of the home or just put an unnecessary tax on you that you're not, trying to pay at the end of the day. So what you do is, okay, if you do have to pay for it, let the credit lender know that you will only pay for it if the file is deleted. That is called a pay for deletion. That's an actual thing. That's a term. Pay for deletion will make sure that when you pay that money, whatever the agreed upon amount is, And by the way, you never pay the entire amount. This more than likely has been passed on to other collection agencies. They're buying that debt for pennies on the dollar and would be more than willing to take, say, 50% or 30%. 25 to 30% is usually the range that most people negotiate without much of an issue. But if you can get more, then by all means go for it. The next thing I want to cover is evictions. Someone specifically asked about having evictions removed. Well, I'm going to refer you to the information that we spoke about earlier. An eviction is a legal process. It's a judgment of sorts. And a lot of the times you have to go to court for it. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes, you know it's coming and you back the U-Haul up and you make it happen and you left the apartment and that was that. I've heard all sorts of stories renting out my own homes. So, I've heard it all. So, when you're now trying to move into that new apartment, let's just say, call the apartment and find out what credit reporting agency they use. Why is that important? Because if you're moving into this apartment complex and they use ChoicePoint, then ChoicePoint needs to be where you focus all of your attentions and speaking to them and doing the same process that I just spoke to if it was a lien or a foreclosure or whatever the case may be. Evictions are handled the same way. This person was moving into a new apartment and was worried about the eviction showing up. So I'm speaking directly to you. And again, I appreciate you even taking the time to, send me a question and, I want to try and address it with you. So yes, go to that apartment complex, find out who they report to, who they deal with, and then go specifically to that agency and deal with that. Get it removed using the same information that we talked about before. I want to opt out. You're using my private information, and I don't want my private information being listed publicly. That is your right to do that. And of course, getting the letter from the county courthouse that you may have had to go to when you were evicted. So all of those things come into play. If you get that squared away and you handle that, you'll be able to move into your apartment, and that eviction will be nowhere to be found, or at least not at ChoicePoint anyway, because that's who you had it removed from. Now, you may have that issue come up again if you're looking for another apartment and they happen to use LexisNexis. Then you're going to have to deal with that. But I just want to help you in any way I can, and I wish you all the luck on getting into that new place. Buying trade lines. Can I buy trade lines to improve my credit? The answer is yes, you can. However, you need to be very, very careful when doing so. And here's why. I've seen people, first of all, people are charging for the information that I'm giving you. They're charging you thousands of dollars to keep the information, number one, and then just do what I'm telling you to do. And they'll charge you, in excess of $5,000, anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 is generally the going rate. They will also sell you trade lines. What is a trade line? I think we kind of spoke to that already, but a trade line is nothing more than a history at a particular lender. So you've got an American Express card. You've got a $100,000 limit on it. Well, someone will try and sell you that trade line. I want to give you the upside, and I want to give you the downsides that you should look out for. The upside is that, well, now you've got a trade line on your credit report, and it looks pretty good. It obviously enhances your standing in the eyes of a lender. Here's the downside. I've had people who sold trade lines or bought a trade line from someone in the credit repair industry, and only to find out after paying thousands of dollars that the trade line they purchased was from a person who had no idea they were actually selling their information. They found out that their trade lines were being sold, and they stopped it at the lender. Well, the lender, all they did was, when the rightful owner of the trade line called and had an issue with it, everyone else associated with that trade line was dropped. So whatever it was that they were paying for, that they thought they were going to have, they no longer have. So they're out of a trade line and they're out of the money. That's the downside. Obviously, we're all adults. You can, finesse it the way you see fit. But I, again, want to give you all the scenarios so that you go in with your eyes open, and you'll know what you're dealing with. Authorized users. Once again, trying to get these people to buy my homes. I know the authorized user game as well. Authorized users is when someone lets you be an authorized user on their credit card. Once again, let's use the American Express example. The American Express has been in existence for over 20 plus years. It's got a $150,000 limit on it. And now you're an authorized user on that, bumping your standing in the eyes of whomever you're going to try and get a loan from. That's the upside. The downside of being an authorized user is if you let someone or give them someone the right to be an authorized user on your account, you better know them real well. And when money, gets into the equation, all of a sudden things start getting funny when money is involved. You already know how that goes. That person, being an authorized user, can call American Express and say, I'm going to need a card sent to my address as well. Well, let's see. You're an authorized user. Okay, well, we're sending out a card, a gold card with a $150,000 limit on it. You'll have it within 7 to 10 days. So you were essentially trying to help someone, and now this whole scenario has presented itself. That's why I don't particularly care for it. Although it does, help those who have them. If you know someone who needs that and they're asking you for that, those are some of the downsides or some of the things that you at least need to consider when doing that. The only time that I think an authorized user might be beneficial is when you want to establish your child's credit. So I know people, I didn't do it myself, but I do know people in my circle who wanted to look out for their kids, right? So they've got credit cards, authorized users. They've got their children on their cards as early as 14, 12 years old. Okay. Now, here's the great part, which is what you obviously hope for. Your child is 18, 20, 22 years old. They're responsible. They're handling their business. Mom and dad set me up. I got the 850 credit score, 810, 820, something like that. And I'm about to purchase my first home. I'm going to follow in dad's footsteps and get into real estate. What could be better, right? I would love that scenario to be the only scenario. But once again, having known people to have done this before, their child goes to college. And in the commons area, one afternoon was a whole row of tables of credit card companies offering your child who's 18 years old the opportunity to open credit cards at this bank, that bank, that bank, and so on and so forth. Well, your child is obviously good. I mean, 800 credit score, they're 18 years old, and they've got history already. So you know they're approved. But your child might not be the most responsible one. They might just be 18, 19 years old, making those same mistakes that a lot of us made back in the day, or even today, wherever you are currently in life. So the parent goes on their statement and finds out, because the statements are coming home, the child been at Gucci, Louis, Fendi, and all of these cards have been opened because they've got all the credit in the world. Not the $500-700 introductory limits. Oh no. Oh no, not your baby. They got the 5,000, 10,000 limits because mom and dad was looking out and established them early on. So be mindful of that. I know I want the best for my kids, and just like you want the best for yours. But that is one of the things that I've seen come back to bite the parent. Well, actually, it wasn't really the parent. It was really the child, but you just gave them so much rope and leeway because they were established at 10. Then, at 19, 20 years old, they're making some of those mistakes that we, often made during college where we bumped our heads. But we bumped our heads with $1,000 limits and maybe finessing the student loan money here and there or whatever the case may be. Not 15 and 20 grand. So that's the downside. I'm obviously hoping that none of you have to experience that. But again, I'm just here to lay it all before you so that we go in completely aware of the good and the bad. So in conclusion, I want to say this. Be patient. Be patient and be patient. If you're trying to incorporate some of the things that I've gone over today, know that it's not going to happen overnight. Why is that? Because the credit bureaus and the lenders that you're refuting the information with, everybody's got 30 to 45 days to answer you. And the answer might not be what you want the first time around. And they're asking for your response. And what do you have to say to this? And now you send another letter in. So now it's another 30 days. And then you're also dealing with the credit reporting agency, LexisNexis or whomever, then you've got that to deal with. So understand that this is not a process that happens overnight, but also understand that it is tried and true. I had to get them folks in my homes, and this is just some of the stuff that I had to utilize in order to make it happen. And, I just want you to know that. Don't get discouraged. Just understand it's a process and be ready to just handle it, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So again, guys, I want to reiterate, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, drop a positive comment. And I say positive, I really mean positive. I just don't have time for the shenanigans, man. Y'all gonna sit there and try and dog somebody when they want to do good for those who are listening, but you'll still try and figure out a way. You know how we do. Oh, nevertheless, if you can say something positive, I greatly appreciate it. But subscribe and like and share my content. Success of a Nation is a new platform, so I'm trying to expand my reach as quickly as possible for those Google algorithms. And because I'm not selling courses or anything like that, that's my only ask. I hope that you enjoyed the information that I presented you. I hope that you got something out of it. I know it's helped me over the years, so I'm sure that it could help you as well. So that being said, as always, I appreciate you, and we'll see you the next time.